So we are now in the strike zone for Duel Links Arc 5 World news, leaks from the game code, updates, that kind of thing. And so before we kind of get thrusted right into that, I thought why not do my predictions for the day one release, the world, the boxes, the cards, that kind of thing. Let me know down below what you think is going to come in the Arc 5 update, and if you're not subscribed just yet, hit subscribe down below because we're trying to reach 50k, and it'd be really cool if we could do that before Arc 5 World comes out. It's a bit of a challenge, but I think we can do it. That'd be really cool. Anyway, roll the intro and let's dive into Arc 5 World in Duel Links. So to start us off, when is it coming? Now, we know it comes out in the new world, usually comes out at the end of September, in the last kind of week. This year, Tokyo Game Show doesn't start until the 30th of September. And so if Konami want to show, like they usually do, show the world off as close to that as possible, then I think we could be having our new world right on the 30th, right on the very end of September, and then it would align with the new box kind of being very, very close to the first of the month in Japan schedule. It'd be as close as possible they can get. I think that makes a ton of sense, and honestly, being a Thursday, about to go into the weekend, it feels like a good time to do it. Moving on to the starter characters, I think we're going to have 3 characters again because that seems to be working for Konami, and overall, even though we don't get this many characters on launch as we did for 5Ds and GX, it does average itself out over the months. You do get 12 characters in a year, so everything is pretty fine in that regard. We will of course get Yuya Sakaki, Yuzu Hiragi, and Gong Strong. I feel like that's a pretty soft lock, or pretty safe lock. They could, out of left field, give us Declan, but he's the Kaiba, the Kite, the Jack. He fits that January slot we've had for years, and so I think he'll come then. And our first event character will be Silvio in November, and their aces once again will be locked behind a skill, and only Gongs will be obtainable as a free-to-play player entirely. So of course Yuya's ace will be Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon. This is the main kind of highlight card. It will be the box ace you are, right, for the cover card for the new box. And it's fine, it's not, it's not the most amazing card in the world. You can destroy it during your end phase to search out any pendulum monster with 1500 less attack points from deck to your hand, which is pretty big. It's a scale 4, and it does double damage, which will, that effect should be fine, right? It should still be double damage, because it's not burn damage, it's double battle damage. So we can still have but you still take the damage line, we can still have that. That would be pretty cool. And then in terms of Yuzu, her ace should be Bloom Diva the Melodious Choir, which is one of the 3 cards from Melodious we don't have in Duel Links. There's so little they can give us, and Bloom Diva, I think, is a bit too good to be obtainable via a free-to-play card. Just, that's kind of how it is. We don't have many free-to-play cards, just come from a battle by card effects, and you take no battle damage. We do have Yubel, right? Yubel is a free-to-play card, right? So that kind of throws that logic out the window. But I feel like they can put this in a mini box, right? A month after release, and throw in a fairy pendulum archetype, and then just kind of put them all together. And your only way to kind of play this out of the gate will be in a skill, and I hope it's not just a put this in the extra deck skill. I hope it's a skill that does some consistency as well from Melodious, because we have all those cards already in a mini box, and so giving them some really cool skills, like Supreme King level skills, would be pretty cool. And finally for Gong, who is the Synchro Sue Every Samurai user, he'll have the Effect Monster Big Benkei. This in the anime was his undisputed ace. It's, it's okay, right? When it's normal special summoned, you can change battle position, so, you do want it in defense mode. Sue Every Samurais, they attack when in defense mode, and so if you're tribute summoning this, or pendulum summoning this, you want to summon it in defense mode, which, it makes sense, right? And all these characters will be up to level 30, of course, because that's how we're doing things in, in Duel Links now. We're taking forever to do level cap increases. We might be stealth announcing them in August. Who the hell knows anymore? But Yuzu, I think, is going to be the character overall that will get the shorter end of the stick, because, like I said, she has 3 cards in the game, 3 Melodious cards to actually get. The majority of her cards in level ups will just be generic fairy support. They might be some crappy vanilla pendulums. If we're lucky, we might get Guiding Ariadne as a one-off, a hard one-off, which would be really cool for counter fairy decks. That'd be very, very cool as a hard one-off card. But we could also get things like Rainbowzu, which is not really that great of a pendulum card, but it's a fairy, so it kind of works. They could also throw a bit of a bone and give her Sulphur Cord, which I think would be a bit too good. They can put that in a main box and sell that, right? It's very thematically usey, right? A musical, themed, waifu deck kind of fits in with the Melodious, and so there's some synergy there in terms of styling and thematicalness. In terms of Gong, he will have his Pendulums, his level up wards. They aren't the best cards in the world, and there's only 2 of them. Most Arc 5 characters only really got 1 or 2 Pendulum cards, like 2 of them, that didn't really Pendulum summon after that. So, you know, you look at things like Serena with Lunar Lights. She got 2, but they're broken. Super Samurai's ones, they aren't really as good. They could wait to give us them in a box that's kind of fitting of Super Samurai's. I personally think the mini box after the New World releases will be a Super Samurai box. I think they could do one better than that. I think they could give us the Pendulums in his level ups, and then in the mini box, give us some new Synchro stuff, support that mechanic, and also give us Dynamis. So whichever box has Super Samurai cards in the future will probably be a box that has Dynamis cards in the both machines. One's a machine Pendulum deck, one's a machine Synchro deck. It makes a ton of sense. Yuya, though, is the hard one to kind of gather and to guess at, because there is like 100 plus Pendulum Perform Power cards. Before we even talk about Odd Eyes, there's 100 plus cards in that archetype. So he has a ton of really good stuff and really shit stuff that they could give us. And I think we're going to kind of go towards the latter side, the really bad side for Yuya's cards. But I think he can have some very, very cool skills. So, of course, we'll probably have the skill that adds Stargazer, Time Gazer, and Odd Eyes to the deck, right, as your main free-to-play skill. But also, I wouldn't be surprised if they had a skill like the anime, where in the first episode, if you haven't seen it, Yuya basically just out of the thin air, he turns his Odd Eyes card into a Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon. So that could be a free-to-play way for current players to play Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon by running a skill that turns your Odd Eyes Dragon, which is a rare in a mini box, into a Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon for free. And that would be pretty balanced, right? You could have it be a once per duel thing, and so you now have a free-to-play Odd Eyes, but you can't play any of the other consistency skills. That makes some sense, right? But also, Stargazer and Time Gazer Magician, these boys right here, they're 2 cards that are very synonymous with Yuya Sakaki, with Pendulum Summoning in general, and I've seen some people kind of say, we won't get this right, because these guys in the zones, in these scales, basically turn your board into having an Armades, as long as it's a Pendulum monster that attacks. And so I think that's fine, right? I think having 2 cards to give you an Armades is fair enough. These 2, I think, will be our New World promos. You know, like last year we got Zubababa General and Gaga Magician in Prismatic. We will get these 2 as a Prismatic rare. Or, if they really want to kind of go with the whole in-universe lore thing, make them Legend. Make them only available via this, and then have them be Legend rare, and be the one-off copies of these cards in existence. I don't think that's a good idea personally, but that could be something they do. Now, of course, talking about Pendulums, we can't forget to mention the board. How will it work? I've done a whole video on this, link down below to that, but I think it's Master Rule 3. Duel Links itself is so ingrained in Master Rule 3 logic in the back end of the game code that, and with their focus on, you know, Duel Links being an anime game in their own words, I think we're going back to Master Rule 3 2 zones on the outside of the board, and that way Pendulums, at least for a year, can grow into their own thing and be at full power as they can be, and see what happens, right? Because they're not going to make the same mistakes as a TCG. They're not going to give us things like Skullcrab Joker and Pendulum Sorcerer and all these things in a very short period of time. They might even hard limit them to 1. We don't know what they're going to do with that just yet, or if they're going to bring him in 2 years' time. They've got plenty of time to work this out and to balance things to the point where Pendulum doesn't have the same rep that it did in the TCG. And it was only broken in a small subset of decks that very easily took advantage of the mechanic. They can negate that. They can make that not happen in Duel Links, and I'm pretty confident that will be the way they go with that. But then we end things off with the box. The main box, Pendulum of something, I don't know, something of Pendulum, or something of Odd Eyes, and this will be a focus on Performer Pal rather than Odd Eyes. Yes, we're getting Pendulum Dragon in the box, but I feel like we're going to start with Performer Pal and then work our way up. very slowly into more Odd Eyes themed, magician themed cards. We're going to kind of start simple and go slowly up. But we should be getting a reprint of Book of Moon. Based on previous years, of course, last year was Fiendish Chain, the year before was Necro Valley. We've had a selection box chase card in the main box of the New World every year. This year might be different because we don't know what we're doing with the mini box yet, with August box, because before every world, we would have had 2 selection box reprints in the Ultra Rare slot. This year, assuming August is a mini box, we'll only have 1. So they might skip it and give us Gold Gadget. You know, that they really might do. But I think as well, is that this box, whilst focusing on Pendulum a bit, will have an Xyz deck in it. Because if you look at the day 1 world that I've kind of outlined so far, we've got Melodious Fusion, Gong Synchro, Yuya Pendulum. There's no Xyz. Give us an Xyz deck in the box. We could go full on Duelist Alliance style, like when Odd Eyes was introduced to TCG and give us Burning Abyss. They could do that. I don't think they will. I think they kind of save that for its own main box down the line. It's a hype enough deck to give us in Duel Links in at full power, or even bigger power basically. But I think it's finally time for Madolche to see the light in Duel Links and releasing some new Xyz monsters with them, alongside the Dream Tickets, where you can go use your SR Dream Ticket on an old box to get an old Madolche card, would make a ton of sense in my opinion. Also, I kind of think, for no real reason, but Sky Cavalry Centauria will be in the box. I don't know why, it's a hunch, but I feel like that's a card that will come in the box. It's just one of those things. I was writing the script for this, I was doing research, and I was like, that stands out to me as an Arc 5 World card for no reason at all. And finally, we have a structure deck, which I think this year will be an EX deck. Last year we didn't, we got a normal deck, the Gaga Xyz deck. And this will focus on using Pendulum to work with the extract mechanics of Synchro and Xyz like the mechanic was intended. It wasn't meant to be, a strictly main deck thing. You make it a Pendulum deck, you weren't in the beginning. You weren't using it just to make a Pendulum deck. You're using it to go into Synchros and Fusions and Xyz a lot quicker than you used to be able to, and I think this is where we'll see Odd Eyes Absolute Dragon, one of my favourite Xyzes, and Odd Eyes Meteor Burst Dragon come to the game. And it will mimic the Master of Pendulum structure deck for the TCG, and alongside it, maybe with the Dragon Pit and Dragon Pulse Magician, which would be a very, very cool structure deck, right? It will be, you have a scale pop to pop a spell trap card, with a monster pop as well, by discarding a Pendulum monster, which does then kind of go against the whole theme because you want Pendulums to go into your extra deck, not into the graveyard. And then you have your big boys of Absolute Dragon, who can negate an attack, and also special Odd Eyes, and Meteor Burst Dragon, who can special a card in your Pendulum zone, and is a skill drain for the battle phase. So maybe not, right? Maybe when I'm reading this, it's like, okay, Meteor Burst, in some circumstances can be pretty deadly, but really in Duel Links, what monster effects are you going to be using in the battle phase? You don't really, apart from things like Kiteroid, which might not even count that, it might only count on the field, but we'll have to wait and see what they do for Arc 5 World in Duel Links. That's my kind of predictions, probably all going to be wrong, but we'll see in about, in a month and a half's time. It's getting very close. I'm very excited. Let me know down below what you think of Arc 5 World coming to Duel Links, like and subscribe, all that kind of thing. Thanks for watching, I'll see you all in the next Duel Links video. See you then.